The Forgotten Beast. Dr. Elara Voss peered through the view screen of her battered research vessel, the Stargazer, as it entered the atmosphere of XR-27, a desolate planet on the fringes of known space. The swirling storms of the upper atmosphere gave way to a landscape of jagged mountains and deep canyons, all bathed in the eerie purple light of the system's dying star. Elara's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She had defied the explicit orders of the Galactic Science Council to come here, risking her career and possibly her life. But the potential discovery waiting on the surface was too tantalizing to ignore. As the Stargazer touched down on a rocky plateau, Elara donned her exosuit and rammed through final system checks. The suit's filters would protect her from the planet's toxic atmosphere, but she knew she had to work quickly. Resources were limited, and every moment on this forbidden world increased the chance of detection. Elara stepped out onto the alien surface, her boots crunching on the crystalline soil. The wind howled around her, carrying particles that pinged off her helmet like tiny bullets. She activated her scanner, sweeping the area for signs of the energy signature that had drawn her here. "Come on," she muttered, adjusting the scanner's settings. "Where are you?" A faint blip appeared on her display, originating from a nearby ravine. Elara's pulse quickened as she made her way towards the signal, carefully navigating the treacherous terrain. As she neared the edge of the chasm, she activated her suit's grappling system and began her descent. The ravine walls were slick with a strange, oily substance that made climbing treacherous. Elara's breath came in short gasps as she fought against gravity and her own fear. Finally, her feet touched the bottom, and she found herself in a narrow passage barely wide enough for her to squeeze through. The energy signature grew stronger as she pressed forward. Rounding a bend, Elara froze, her eyes widening behind her faceplate. There, curled in a shallow depression in the rock, lay a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. It was massive, easily twice her size, with a serpentine body covered in iridescent scales. 6 limbs ended in wickedly curved claws, and a series of fins ran along its spine. But what struck Elara most was the creature's face. 2 enormous eyes, now half-lidded and dull, dominated its features. A cluster of sensory tendrils surrounded a mouth filled with needle-sharp teeth. Elara's scientific mind raced, cataloging details even as her heart ached at the creature's obvious distress. Its breathing was labored, and its once beautiful scales were cracked and peeling. This was no ordinary animal. It was a sentient being, and it was dying. "Oh, you poor thing," Elara whispered, approaching cautiously. "What happened to you?" The creature's eyes flickered, focusing on her with obvious effort. A weak growl rumbled from its throat, but it lacked the strength to do more than that. Elara's scanner beeped insistently, displaying a cascade of alarming data. "Severe malnutrition," she read aloud. "Dehydration, organ failure. How long have you been down here?" The creature made no response, but Elara could sense its fear and resignation. She knew the smart thing would be to leave, to report her finding to the council and let them decide how to proceed. But as she looked into those ancient, intelligent eyes, she knew she couldn't abandon this being to die alone in the dark. "I'm going to help you," Elara said firmly, reaching for her med kit. "I don't know if you can understand me, but I promise I'm not going to hurt you." Working quickly, Elara administered a cocktail of nutrients and stabilizing agents through a hypospray. The creature flinched at first, but then relaxed as the medicines began to take effect. Its breathing eased, and some of the dullness left its eyes. "That's it," Elara encouraged. "Just rest now. We'll get you out of here soon." But as she spoke, a rumble shook the ravine. Rocks clattered down from above, and Elara's suit sensors blared a warning. The unstable geology of XR-27 was working against them. The entire area was about to collapse. Elara looked at the creature, then at her ship's beacon blinking on her heads-up display. There was no way she could get them both out in time. For a moment, she considered fleeing, saving herself and leaving the alien to its fate. But one look at those eyes, now filled with a spark of hope, banished the thought. "Okay," she said, more to herself than to the creature. "Let's do this." With strength born of desperation, Ilara began to drag the massive alien towards the ravane's exit. Every step was agony, her muscles screaming in protest. The creature tried to help, its claws scrabbling weakly against the rock, but it was still too weak to do much. As they neared the top, a massive tremor shook the ground. Ilara lost her footing, nearly tumbling back into the abyss. But suddenly, she felt something wrap around her waist, one of the creature's limbs, holding her steady. Their eyes met, and in that moment, a connection formed. This wasn't just about saving a life anymore. It was about trust, about two beings from different worlds coming together in the face of impossible odds. With a final Herculean effort, Ilara hauled them both over the edge, just as the ravine collapsed behind them. They lay there on the crystalline soil, both gasping for breath. Ilara's suit was torn and battered, warning lights flashing across her display. But they were alive. As the dust settled, Ilara turned to the creature. "We did it," she said, laughing in disbelief. "We actually did it." The alien's eyes blinked slowly, and Ilara could have sworn she saw gratitude in their depths. But their ordeal was far from over. The Stargazer's sensors were picking up an approaching ship, likely a council patrol, drawn by the seismic activity. Ilara knew that if they were caught, both she and the creature would face dire consequences. The council's quarantine of XR-27 was absolute, and they would show no mercy to those who defied it. "We have to go," Ilara said urgently, struggling to her feet. "Can you move?" The creature wobbled unsteadily but managed to rise. Together, they made their way towards the Stargazer, each step a battle against exhaustion and the planet's unforgiving terrain. As they reached the ship, the whine of engines filled the air. A sleek council vessel appeared on the horizon, closing fast. Ilara's fingers flew over the Stargazer's controls, initiating launch sequences and plotting a course that would hopefully lose their pursuers in the system's asteroid field. "Hold on," she told her new companion as the ship lifted off. "This is going to be a bumpy ride." The creature curled itself around the cockpit seats, its eyes fixed on the approaching council ship. As they broke atmosphere, laser fire lanced past them, the council vessel giving chase. Ilara's mind raced as she pushed the Stargazer to its limits. She had come to XR-27 seeking scientific discovery, but she had found something far more precious. A being in need, a chance to make a difference. And now, as they fled into the stars, she knew her life would never be the same. The council ship loomed behind them, weapons charging for another volley. But Ilara allowed herself a small smile. They might be outgunned and on the run, but they had something the council couldn't understand. A bond forged in the face of death, a partnership between two species that should never have met. As the Stargazer plunged into the asteroid field, Ilara glanced at her unlikely companion. "I don't know where we're going," she admitted. "But whatever happens, we're in this together now." The creature's eyes met hers, and a feeling of warmth and understanding passed between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them united, a human and an alien, defying the odds and the rules of a cold, uncaring galaxy. And so, as the council ship fell behind and the stars stretched out before them, a new chapter in galactic history began, one that would challenge everything the cosmos thought it knew about the nature of life, intelligence, and the power of compassion. Bonds beyond stars. The Stargazer hurtled through the asteroid field, its hull groaning under the strain of evasive maneuvers. Dr. Ilara Voss's hands danced across the controls, her mind racing as she plotted their escape. Beside her, the alien creature she had rescued from XR-27 watched the pursuit with keen interest, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the chaos outside. "We need a name for you," Ilara muttered, more to break the tension than anything else. "I can't keep calling you creature in my head." The alien tilted its head, tendrils quivering. It made a sound somewhere between a purr and a whistle. Zix, Elara decided, smiling despite their dire situation. How's that? Zix's eyes blinked in what she took as approval. A proximity alarm blared, and Elara cursed. The council ship was gaining on them, its superior technology allowing it to navigate the asteroid field with ease. She knew the Stargazer couldn't outrun them forever. We need a plan, she said, glancing at Zix. Any ideas? To her surprise, Zix unfurled one of its limbs, pointing towards a particularly dense cluster of asteroids. Elara frowned, then gasped as she realized what Zix was suggesting. You're brilliant, she exclaimed, altering their course. The Stargazer dove into the asteroid swarm, weaving between massive rocks with barely inches to spare. Elara's heart pounded as she pushed the ship to its limits, trusting in Zix's apparent knowledge of celestial bodies. Suddenly, a massive asteroid loomed before them, easily 10 times the size of the Stargazer. But instead of veering away, Elara aimed straight for it. I hope you're right about this, she muttered to Zix. At the last possible second, a fissure appeared in the asteroid's surface, a hidden cavern just large enough for the Stargazer to slip inside. Elara cut the engines, letting momentum carry them into the darkness. Behind them, the council ship shot past, unable to detect their hiding place. As the Stargazer's emergency lights flickered on, Elara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. That was too close, she said, running a hand through her sweat-soaked hair. Zix made a series of clicks and whistles, its tendrils waving excitedly. Elara laughed, the tension of the chase finally breaking. Yeah, we did it, she agreed, but we're not out of trouble yet. Indeed, as the adrenaline faded, the reality of their situation set in. They were fugitives now, hunted by the very organization Elara had once served. And while Zix was no longer on the brink of death, the alien was still weak and in need of care. Elara set the ship's sensors to passive mode, hoping to avoid detection, and turned her attention to her unlikely companion. Let's get you fixed up, she said, reaching for her med kit. As she tended to Zix's wounds, Elara's scientific curiosity kicked in. The alien's physiology was unlike anything she had ever encountered. Its blood was a deep purple, shimmering with bioluminescent particles. The scales that covered its body seemed to shift color slightly, adapting to the environment. You're amazing, Elara murmured, running a scanner over Zix's form. Your species must have evolved in a harsh environment to develop these adaptations. Zix watched her work with obvious intelligence, occasionally reaching out to touch the medical instruments with gentle curiosity. As Elara finished applying a synthetic skin graft to a particularly nasty wound, she felt a wave of emotion from the alien, gratitude, tinged with something deeper. You're welcome, she said softly, realizing that some form of telepathic communication might be possible between them. I couldn't just leave you there. Over the next few hours, as they waited for the council ship to give up its search, Elara and Zix began to form a deeper bond. Through a combination of gestures, rudimentary drawings, and that strange empathic link, they started to learn about each other. Elara discovered that Zix's species, which she mentally dubbed chrysalians for their color-changing abilities, were native to a distant, harsh world. They were a peaceful, highly intelligent race with advanced bioengineering capabilities, but their very nature made them targets for those who would exploit them. Is that how you ended up on XR27? Elara asked, piecing together the story. Someone captured you for your abilities. Zix's eyes darkened, and a wave of sorrow washed over Elara. She saw flashes of a sterile laboratory, felt the ache of confinement and the terror of escape. The council hadn't just abandoned Zix. They had actively tried to imprison and study the alien against its will. I'm so sorry, Elara whispered, fighting back tears. But I promise I won't let that happen to you again. As if in response to her words, the asteroid around them shuddered. Alarms blared on the Stargazer's console, and Elara rushed to check the readouts. No, she muttered, her face paling. The asteroid, it's breaking apart. Indeed, their hiding place was crumbling, likely due to the stress of their high-speed entry. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before they would be exposed to the vacuum of space. Ilara's mind raced. The Council ship was surely still out there, waiting to pounce. But they couldn't stay here. She looked at Zix, seeing her own fear reflected in those alien eyes. "We have to run," she said. "It's risky, but we don't have a choice." Zix nodded, its tendrils wrapping securely around a nearby support strut. Ilara took a deep breath, fired up the engines, and punched it. The stargazer burst from the disintegrating asteroid like a bullet from a gun, chunks of rock pinging off its hull. Immediately, proximity alarms screamed to life. The Council ship had spotted them. But something extraordinary happened in that moment. As laser fire lanced towards them, Zix's body began to glow with an intense, pulsating light. The alien's tendrils stretched out, enveloping the ship in a shimmering field of energy. The lasers struck the field and dissipated harmlessly. Ilara stared in awe as Zix's bioluminescence created a perfect defense against their attackers. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" she said, grinning as she pushed the stargazer to full speed. With Zix's protective field surrounding them, they were able to outmaneuver the Council ship. Ilara plotted a course for the nearest jump point, praying their luck would hold. As they prepared to make the jump to hyperspace, Ilara felt a gentle touch on her arm. She looked down to see one of Zix's tendrils wrapped loosely around her wrist. A feeling of warmth and trust flowed between them. "Yeah," Ilara said softly. "We're in this together now." The stars stretched into lines of light as the stargazer leaped into hyperspace. They had escaped immediate danger, but Ilara knew their journey was far from over. They were fugitives now, with the full might of the Galactic Council surely mobilizing against them. But as she looked at Zix, seeing not just an alien creature but a friend, a partner, Ilara felt a surge of determination. They had already defied the odds once. Together, there was no telling what they might accomplish. As the stargazer hurtled through the swerving tunnel of hyperspace, Ilara allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps that unlikely alliance could be the key to changing the galaxy's understanding of interspecies cooperation. Perhaps they could forge a path towards a future where beings like Zix were seen not as subjects to be studied, but as equals to be embraced. It would be a long, dangerous road, but looking at her alien companion, Ilara knew she wouldn't want to travel it with anyone else. "Where should we go?" she asked, bringing up a star chart. Zix studied the holographic display, then pointed a tendril towards a small, unremarkable system near the edge of charted space. Ilara raised an eyebrow. "You sure? There's not much out there." Zix's eyes gleamed with what Ilara could only describe as mischief. She laughed, inputting the coordinates. "All right, partner," she said. "Let's see what adventures await us." As the stargazer adjusted its course, Ilara felt a thrill of excitement. They were outlaws now, yes, but they were also pioneers, the first true human-alien partnership in galactic history, and somehow she knew that their story was only just beginning. The stars beckoned, full of promise and peril, and together, a human scientist and a Chrysalian fugitive set out to challenge the very foundations of galactic society, one star system at a time. But something extraordinary happened in that moment. As laser fire lanced towards them, Zix's body began to glow with an intense, pulsating light. The alien's tendrils stretched out, enveloping the ship in a shimmering field of energy. The lasers struck the field and dissipated harmlessly. Ilara stared in awe as Zix's bioluminescence created a perfect defense against their attackers. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" she said, grinning as she pushed the stargazer to full speed. With Zix's protective field surrounding them, they were able to outmaneuver the Council ship. Ilara plotted a course for the nearest jump point, praying their luck would hold. As they prepared to make the jump to hyperspace, Ilara felt a gentle touch on her arm. She looked down to see one of Zix's tendrils wrapped loosely around her wrist. A feeling of warmth and trust flowed between them. "Yeah," Elara said softly. "We're in this together now." The stars stretched into lines of light as the stargazer leaped into hyperspace. They had escaped immediate danger, but Elara knew their journey was far from over. They were fugitives now, with the full might of the Galactic Council surely mobilizing against them. But as she looked at Zix, seeing not just an alien creature but a friend, a partner, Elara felt a surge of determination. They had already defied the odds once. Together, there was no telling what they might accomplish. As the stargazer hurtled through the swirling tunnel of hyperspace, Elara allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps their unlikely alliance could be the key to changing the galaxy's understanding of interspecies cooperation. Perhaps they could forge a path towards a future where beings like Zix were seen not as subjects to be studied, but as equals to be embraced. It would be a long, dangerous road, but looking at her alien companion, Elara knew she wouldn't want to travel it with anyone else. "Where should we go?" she asked, bringing up a star chart. Zix studied the holographic display, then pointed a tendril towards a small, unremarkable system near the edge of charted space. Elara raised an eyebrow. "You sure? There's not much out there." Zix's eyes gleamed with what Elara could only describe as mischief. She laughed, inputting the coordinates. "All right, partner," she said. "Let's see what adventures await us." As the stargazer adjusted its course, Elara felt a thrill of excitement. They were outlaws now, yes, but they were also pioneers. The first true human-alien partnership in galactic history. And somehow, she knew that their story was only just beginning. The stars beckoned, full of promise and peril, and together, a human scientist and a Chrysolian fugitive set out to challenge the very foundations of galactic society, one star system at a time. Echoes of revolution. The stargazer emerged from hyperspace in a burst of swirling energy, its hull still vibrating from the strain of the long jump. Dr. Elara Voss blinked away the disorientation, her eyes adjusting to the view of an unfamiliar star system sprawling before them. Beside her, Zix unfurled from the protective cocoon it had formed during transit, its iridescent scales glimmering under the light of twin suns. "Well, we're here," Elara said, scanning the ship's readouts. "Wherever here is." The system Zix had chosen was a binary arrangement. Two stars locked in an eternal dance, their gravitational embrace cradling a handful of planets and countless asteroids. It was beautiful, in a stark, desolate way, but Elara couldn't fathom why Zix had led them to this cosmic backwater. As if sensing her confusion, Zix extended a tendril towards the navigation console. With surprising dexterity, the alien manipulated the controls, zooming in on the third planet from the twin suns. Elara's eyes widened as the sensors picked up readings that shouldn't have been possible. "That can't be right," she muttered, double-checking the data. "The atmosphere, the magnetic field, it's perfect for supporting life. But how? This system isn't on any colonization charts." Zix made a series of clicks and whistles, its body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Through their growing empathic link, Elara sensed a mixture of excitement and trepidation from her alien companion. "You've been here before," she realized. "This is some kind of secret world." The alien nodded, its eyes conveying a depth of history and purpose that Elara could only begin to fathom. She felt a tingle of anticipation run down her spine. They hadn't just found a hiding place, they had stumbled upon something far more significant. As the stargazer entered the planet's atmosphere, Elara gasped. The surface was a riot of color and life, with sprawling forests of bioluminescent vegetation and vast oceans that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. But it was what rose from the planet's single continent that truly took her breath away. A city, unlike anything Elara had ever seen, stretched across the landscape. Its architecture was a seamless blend of organic forms and advanced technology, with structures that seemed to grow from the very earth itself. Spiraling towers reached towards the sky, their surfaces alive with shifting patterns of light and color. It's incredible, Ilara whispered, all evident in her voice. A hidden civilization right under the Council's nose. Zix guided the ship towards a clearing on the outskirts of the city. As they touched down, Ilara saw movement in the surrounding vegetation. Figures emerged, aliens of various species, some familiar to her eyes and others completely unknown. But what struck her most was the presence of humans among them. "What is this place?" Ilara asked as she and Zix disembarked. A tall, willowy being with skin like polished obsidian stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice resonated with a musical quality that seemed to bypass Ilara's ears and go straight to her mind. "Welcome, travelers, to Harmony," the being said. "I am Nixara, keeper of this sanctuary. We've been expecting you." Ilara blinked in surprise. Expecting us? But how? Nixara's lips curved in what might have been a smile. The currents of fate are not always invisible to those who know how to look. Your arrival has been foretold in the cosmic tapestry. Before Ilara could process this cryptic statement, Zix moved forward, exchanging a series of complex gestures and vocalizations with Nixara. The alien's tendrils waved excitedly, and Ilara felt waves of joy and relief emanating from her companion. "Your friend tells me of your daring escape," Nixara said, turning back to Ilara. "You have shown great courage and compassion, Dr. Voss. Such qualities are rare and precious in these dark times." Ilara's scientific mind reeled at the implications of what she was seeing. This place, it's a refuge, isn't it? For beings the Council would persecute or exploit. Nixara nodded solemnly. "Harmony is more than a refuge, Dr. Voss. It is the seed of a new future, one where all sentient beings can coexist in peace, free from the oppressive rule of the Galactic Council." As if on cue, a holographic display flickered to life in the center of the clearing. It showed images from across the galaxy, worlds in turmoil, species facing extinction, the heavy hand of the Council's rule crushing innovation and diversity. "The Council's regime is built on fear and control," Nixara explained. "They see the diversity of life in the cosmos not as something to be celebrated, but as a threat to be contained. For centuries they have manipulated events, stifling the growth of younger races and exploiting those with unique abilities." Ilara's mind flashed to Zix, to the suffering her friend had endured at the Council's hands. "But why?" she asked. "Why go to such lengths to maintain control?" A new voice answered, deep, resonant, and unmistakably human. "Because true cooperation between species terrifies them." Ilara turned to see a man approaching, his weathered face marked by scars and his eyes burning with intensity. She recognized him instantly from wanted posters and whispered legends. "Captain Thorn," she breathed, "the ghost of Perseus." Thorn nodded, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "In the flesh, though not by choice. The Council's been trying to make me a real ghost for years." Ilara's head spun. Thorn was a legend, a human captain who had gone rogue, leading a series of daring raids against Council facilities and liberating imprisoned species. He was also supposed to be dead, executed publicly 5 years ago. "But how?" Ilara asked. "Everyone saw your execution." Thorn's smile turned grim. "The Council sees what it wants to see, Doctor. And sometimes what it needs others to see. My death was a carefully orchestrated illusion designed to demoralize those who would resist their rule." Nixara stepped forward, placing a hand on Thorn's shoulder. "Captain Thorn has been instrumental in building our network of allies across the galaxy. But now, with your arrival, we have a chance to do more than simply hide and survive." Ilara frowned. "What do you mean?" Thorn's eyes blazed with purpose. "You and Zix represent something the Council fears above all else. Proof that humans and aliens can form deep, meaningful bonds. Your escape has already sent ripples through the galaxy. People are beginning to question the Council's narrative. We believe," Nixara continued, "that the time has come to challenge the Council's rule openly, to show the galaxy that there is another way, a path of cooperation and mutual understanding between all sentient beings. Ilara's mind reeled at the implications. What had started as a simple act of compassion on a forbidden world had somehow catapulted her into the center of a galactic revolution. She looked at Zix, seeing the same mix of excitement and trepidation she felt reflected in those alien eyes. "What you're talking about," Ilara said slowly, "it's more than just resistance, it's war." Thorn nodded gravely. "A war of ideas, primarily. But make no mistake, Doctor, blood will be shed before this is over. The Council won't give up its power without a fight." Ilara took a deep breath, weighing the enormity of the choice before her. She had never seen herself as a revolutionary. Her life had been dedicated to science, to expanding the boundaries of knowledge. But as she looked around at the diverse beings gathered in harmony, at the hope shining in their eyes, she knew there was no turning back. "All right," she said, straightening her shoulders. "Where do we start?" A ripple of excitement passed through the assembled crowd. Nixora's eyes gleamed with approval, and Thorn's face split into a fierce grin. "We start," Thorn said, "by telling your story. The tale of a human scientist and a Chrysalian fugitive, defying the odds and the Council's decrees. We'll spread it to every corner of the galaxy, igniting the spark of hope in countless hearts." Zix moved closer to Ilara, its tendrils gently wrapping around her arm in a gesture of solidarity. Through their bond, Ilara felt a surge of determination and purpose. "Together," Nixara said, her voice ringing with conviction, "we will rewrite the story of our galaxy. No longer will we be divided by artificial boundaries and prejudices. We will forge a new path, one of unity, understanding, and limitless potential." As the twin suns of harmony set, casting the alien city in a breathtaking array of colors, Ilara felt a sense of destiny settling over her. She and Zix had come seeking refuge, but they had found so much more. They had found a cause worth fighting for, a future worth building. The road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty. The Council's reach was vast, its resources nearly limitless. But looking at the unlikely alliance gathered around her, humans, aliens, and everything in between, Ilara knew that they had something the Council could never truly understand or defeat. They had hope, they had each other, and together they would change the very fabric of galactic society, one star system at a time. As night fell on Harmony, plans were made, strategies debated, and a revolution began to take shape. And at the heart of it all stood Ilara and Zix, living proof that the boundaries between species were meant to be crossed, that the greatest strength lay not in isolation, but in the bonds forged between kindred spirits across the cosmic divide. The galaxy would never be the same again. Starborn Rebellion, the holographic war room of Harmony, buzzed with activity, its crystalline walls reflecting the determined faces of the most unlikely alliance the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the center, her eyes darting between star charts and tactical readouts, while Zix hovered nearby, its tendrils weaving complex patterns in the air as it communicated with other alien strategists. Captain Thong's gruff voice cut through the chatter. "The Council's moving faster than we anticipated. They've already locked down 3 major trade hubs in the Orion Arm." Nixara, the willowy keeper of Harmony, nodded gravely. "They fear the spread of our message. The very idea of human-alien cooperation threatens the foundation of their power." Ilara felt a familiar frustration bubbling up. It had been 3 months since they'd arrived on Harmony, 3 months of frantic preparation and clandestine operations. Their rebellion was growing, but so was the Council's paranoia. "We need something big," Ilara said, her mind racing. "Something that will force the galaxy to confront the truth about the Council's lies." Zix chirped excitedly, its bioluminescent patterns flashing in a way Ilara had come to recognize as inspiration. Through their bond, she felt a surge of images and emotions, a plan taking shape. "The Nexus," Ilara breathed, understanding dawning. "Zix, you're brilliant." The others looked at her quizzically. Ilara quickly explained, her words tumbling out in a rush of excitement. The Galactic Nexus is the hub of all Council communications. It's where they control the flow of information across settled space. If we could tap into it, broadcast the truth to every world simultaneously. Thorn's eyes widened. It would shatter the Council's narrative in an instant. But the Nexus is the most heavily guarded facility in the galaxy. It's suicide. Nixara raised a hand, her obsidian skin shimmering with an inner light. Perhaps not. There is an old saying among my people: the key to victory often lies in the heart of what seems impossible. As the group debated the merits and risks of the plan, Ilara felt a subtle shift in the room's energy. She turned to see a new arrival, a being she had only glimpsed in passing during her time on Harmony. The newcomer was tall, easily 7 feet, with a body that seemed to be composed of living crystal. Light refracted through its form, creating mesmerizing patterns that shifted with each movement. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that sent shivers down Ilara's spine. "I am Zenith," the crystalline being said, its faceted eyes scanning the assembled group. "Last of the Prism sages, and I believe I can offer a solution to your dilemma." Nixara bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect. "Honored sage, we welcome your wisdom." Zenith moved to the center of the room, its crystalline form interfacing seamlessly with the holographic displays. The star charts shifted, zooming in on a region of space that seemed to exist between the very fabric of reality. "The Nexus exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously," Zenith explained, its voice like music given form. "This is how it maintains instantaneous communication across vast distances. But it also presents a vulnerability, one that a being of sufficient uniqueness might exploit." All eyes turned to Zix. The Chrysalian's color-shifting abilities and natural affinity for energy manipulation made it the perfect candidate for such a mission. Ilara felt a swell of pride, tinged with fear for her friend's safety. "With the right preparation," Zenith continued, "your Chrysalian ally could phase partially out of our dimension, becoming invisible to the Nexus's formidable defenses. Once inside, it could open a channel for a small team to infiltrate and broadcast your message." The room erupted in a flurry of excited discussion. It was audacious, borderline insane, but it just might work. As the others debated logistics and team composition, Ilara pulled Zix aside. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice low. "It's going to be incredibly dangerous." Zix's tendrils wrapped gently around Ilara's wrist, and she felt a wave of determination and trust flow through their bond. The alien's eyes met hers, conveying a depth of emotion that needed no words. Ilara nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Okay, then we do this together." Over the next week, Harmony became a hive of feverish activity. Zenith worked tirelessly with Zix, teaching the Chrysalian to harness its innate dimensional attunement. Thorn drilled the infiltration team, a mix of ex-military humans and aliens with unique abilities that would be crucial for the mission's success. Ilara threw herself into crafting the message they would broadcast. It needed to be powerful, undeniable, a truth so compelling that it would shake the very foundations of galactic society. As the day of the mission dawned, Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking the bioluminescent forests of Harmony. Zix coiled beside her, its scales shimmering with nervous energy. "Whatever happens," Ilara said softly, "know that you've already changed the galaxy. You've shown me, shown all of us, what's possible when we look beyond our differences." Zix's tendrils intertwined with her fingers, and Ilara felt a surge of emotion that transcended species barriers. In that moment, she knew that win or lose, their bond had already proven the Council's ideology wrong. Hours later, cloaked in the latest stealth technology Harmony could provide, their small fleet approached the Nexus. The massive station hung in space like a colossal, multifaceted gem, its surface alive with pulsing energy conduits. "This is it." Thorn's voice crackled over the comm. "Zix, you're up. May the stars guide your path." Ilara watched, her heart in her throat, as Zix's form began to shimmer and fade. The Chrysalian seemed to exist in multiple states at once, its body phasing in and out of reality as it slipped through the Nexus's impenetrable defenses. For agonizing minutes, there was silence. Then suddenly, alarms blared across the Nexus. A section of the station's shield grid flickered and died. "That's our cue," Thorne barked. "All teams, go, go, go." Their ships streaked towards the opening, dodging frantic weapons fire from the surprised defenders. Ilara gripped her console, her knuckles white as they plunged into the heart of the Council's power. Inside, it was chaos. Council security forces clashed with the Rebellion's strike team in the winding corridors of the Nexus. Ilara and Thorne fought their way towards the central broadcast hub, guided by Zix's telepathic pulses. As they neared their goal, a massive blast door sealed shut before them. Ilara's heart sank, but then she heard a familiar series of clicks and whistles. Zix materialized beside them, its body still flickering between dimensions. With a gesture, the Chrysalian interfaced directly with the Nexus's systems. The door shuddered, then slid open, revealing the pulsing heart of the Council's communication network. "Quickly," Thorne urged, laying down covering fire as Council reinforcements closed in. "We won't get another shot at this." Ilara's fingers flew over the controls, uploading the carefully prepared message. As the broadcast initiated, screens throughout the hub came to life, showing the transmission spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Her own face stared back at her, alongside images of Zix, of Harmony, of countless beings the Council had labeled as threats. Her voice, strong and clear, echoed through the chamber. "People of the galaxy, we've been lied to. The Council that claims to protect us has instead kept us divided, afraid of our differences. But I stand before you today as living proof that those differences are our greatest strength." The message continued, laying bare the Council's centuries of manipulation and oppression. It showed the truth of harmony, of the incredible advancements possible when species work together instead of against each other. As the broadcast reached its climax, the hub erupted in renewed chaos. Council loyalists fought desperately to cut the transmission, while rebels battled to keep it going just a few seconds longer. In the midst of it all, Ilara felt Zix's tendrils wrap around her waist. She looked up to see the Chrysalian's eyes glowing with an intensity she'd never witnessed before. Through their bond, she sensed Zix's intention, a last desperate gambit to ensure their message reached every corner of settled space. "Zix, no!" Ilara cried, realizing what her friend intended to do. But it was too late. The Chrysalian's body began to pulse with blinding energy. Zix was interfacing directly with the Nexus, using its own life force to amplify the broadcast beyond anything they had thought possible. The hub filled with searing light as Zix's consciousness spread through the Nexus's systems, carrying their message to every world, every ship, every terminal in the galaxy. For one breathtaking moment, all of settled space was united, witness to a truth that could no longer be denied. As the light faded, Ilara caught Zix in her arms. The Chrysalian's once vibrant scales were dull, its life force dangerously depleted, but in its eyes Ilara saw a fierce joy, the satisfaction of a mission accomplished, of a sacrifice freely given for a cause greater than any single life. "Fall back," Thorne's voice cut through the ringing in Ilara's ears. "The station's going critical. We need to evacuate now." Cradling Zix's weakened form, Ilara ran. Around them, the Nexus shuddered and groaned, overwhelmed by the strain of Zix's final gambit. They barely made it to the extraction point, their ships streaking away from the station as it began to break apart. As they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the chaos of the Nexus behind, Ilara looked down at Zix. The Chrysalian's eyes flickered weakly, but through their bond, she felt a sense of peace and of hope. "You did it," Ilara whispered, tears streaming down her face. "You changed everything." And as their ship raced towards an uncertain future, carrying the spark of a reborn galaxy, Ilara knew that their journey, The journey of all species towards unity and understanding was only just beginning. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter, heralding the dawn of a new age, an age born from the unlikeliest of friendships, forged in the fires of revolution, and destined to reshape the very fabric of cosmic society. Cosmic Awakening. The aftermath of the Nexus broadcast rippled across the galaxy like a supernova, igniting sparks of rebellion and hope on countless worlds. Dr. Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Stargazer, now transformed into a mobile command center for the burgeoning revolution. Her eyes were fixed on the holographic displays, showing real-time updates from every corner of settled space. "It's working," she breathed, a mixture of awe and disbelief in her voice. "They're actually rising up." Captain Thorne nodded grimly, his scarred face illuminated by the flickering redouts. "The Council's grip is slipping, but make no mistake, Doc, they won't go down without a fight." As if to punctuate his words, an alert blared through the ship. A massive Council armada had just jumped into the system, its weapons primed and targeting solutions locked on Harmony. Ilara's heart raced. "We need to evacuate the planet. Now." But before they could act, something extraordinary happened. The space around Harmony began to shimmer and distort. At first, Ilara thought it was some new Council weapon, but then she realized the truth. Harmony itself was moving. Nixara's voice came over the comms, calm despite the chaos. "Fear not, friends. The Founders prepared for this day long ago. Harmony was never meant to remain hidden forever." To the astonishment of both rebels and Council forces alike, the entire planet phased out of normal space-time. It was as if reality itself parted, revealing a shimmering corridor of pure energy. Harmony, with its bioluminescent forests and crystalline spires, began to traverse this cosmic highway, defying all known laws of physics. "By the void," Thorne whispered. "It's a fold ship, the whole damn planet." Ilara's scientific mind reeled at the implications. Foldship technology was theoretical at best, the stuff of academic debates and fringe research. Yet here was an entire world, millions of beings aboard, sliding between the very fabric of space-time. As Harmony vanished into the fold, leaving the Council armada floundering in its wake, Ilara felt a familiar presence at her side. Zix, still weakened from the Nexus event but recovering, coiled beside her. Through their bond, she sensed a mixture of pride and anticipation. "You knew about this, didn't you?" Ilara asked, a smile tugging at her lips despite the gravity of the situation. Zix's eyes twinkled with mischief, and Ilara felt a surge of affection for her alien friend. Even in the face of galactic upheaval, Zix hadn't lost its sense of wonder and playfulness. The Stargazer's sensors picked up a signal from within the fold. Nixara's image materialized on the bridge, her obsidian skin seeming to shimmer with otherworldly energy. "The time has come," she announced, her voice resonating with power and purpose. "Harmony will serve as a beacon, a rallying point for all those who dream of a united galaxy. But we cannot win this war alone." Ilara nodded, understanding the unspoken request. "We'll spread the word. Every rebel cell, every sympathetic world, they need to know that the real fight is just beginning." Over the next weeks, as Harmony jumped from system to system through its cosmic shortcuts, the rebellion gained momentum. The Stargazer became a legend, appearing seemingly out of nowhere to strike at Council strongholds before vanishing again into the folds of space. Ilara found herself at the heart of it all, no longer just a scientist, but a symbol of the change sweeping the galaxy. Her bond with Zix, now stronger than ever, served as living proof of what was possible when species came together as equals. But the Council, though staggered, was far from defeated. They lashed out with increasing desperation, entire worlds paying the price for their waning control. The conflict escalated, with battles raging across star systems and in the spaces between reality itself. It was during one such battle, as the Stargazer led a daring raid on a Council shipyard, that everything changed once again. Alarms blared as energy readings spiked off the charts. A rift tore open in space before them, larger and more stable than anything they'd ever encountered, and from it emerged a ship of impossible proportions and alien design. "By all the stars," Thorn breathed, his usual bravado shaken. "What is that?" Ilara's eyes widened as the ship's energy signature registered on their sensors. It's precursor technology. Like the artifacts we found, but active, alive." The mysterious vessel dwarfed both the rebel fleet and the Council armada. For a moment, all combat ceased as both sides grappled with the implications of its arrival. A transmission cut through all frequencies in a language that seemed to bypass traditional communication entirely. Ilara gasped as the meaning unfurled directly in her mind. "Children of the young races," the message began, "long have we watched your struggles, your triumphs and failures. The time of our return was foretold, awaiting a sign that you were ready to join the greater cosmic community." Images flooded Ilara's consciousness: ancient civilizations, cosmic wonders beyond imagination, and a galactic society so vast and diverse it defied comprehension. "Your recent awakening, your steps towards true cooperation between species, has signaled that time is now at hand. We offer you a choice: to remain as you are, bound by the limits of your current understanding, or to take your place among the stars as part of something greater." The implications were staggering. The precursors, a race thought to be nothing more than myth and scattered ruins, were not only real but had been watching, waiting for the galaxy to prove itself worthy of some greater cosmic design. Ilara felt Zix's tendrils intertwine with her fingers, a gesture of solidarity in the face of the unknown. She looked around the bridge, seeing the same mix of awe and determination reflected in the faces of her crew, human and alien alike. In that moment, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The petty divisions of the past, the conflicts that had seemed so important mere moments ago, all paled in comparison to the journey that lay ahead. As the precursor ship hung in space, a silent invitation to a new era of galactic civilization, Ilara stepped forward. Her voice, strong and clear, spoke for not just the rebellion, but for all those who dreamed of a united future. "We accept," she said, feeling the weight of history in her words. "We're ready to take our place among the stars." The precursor ship pulsed with energy, and a shimmering portal began to form. It was a gateway, not just to new regions of space, but to a new chapter in the story of all sentient life. Ilara looked at Zix, then at Thorn and the rest of her unlikely family. With a nod of shared purpose, they set course for the portal. The Stargazer, once a simple research vessel and then a ship of war, now became a pioneer on the greatest journey of exploration the galaxy had ever known. As they crossed the threshold, leaving behind the familiar conflicts of their past, Ilara felt a sense of limitless possibility. The true adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. The stars beckoned, filled with wonders and challenges beyond imagination, and together, united in their diversity, the beings of the Milky Way took their first steps into a cosmic future where the only boundaries were those of their own making. The age of division was over. The era of true galactic unity had begun.